Well, Naledi, if you go to the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro here in the Eastern Cape, it's struggling to receive water. But when you go to the Chris Hani districts and the OR Tambo districts, they were hit with floods. So water is quite enormous in that side, but on the other side, water is really quite scarce. Those are some of the challenges that we are faced as a province here in the Eastern Cape, and that's what is expected of the Premier Oscar Mabuyane's address, to address some of those issues, including crime due to cable theft, crime that hinders investment opportunities for people, and those issues that could hinder even the creation of jobs here in this province. So he is expected to speak at around 11 o'clock on the dot, where he will address a number of issues. I can tell you that over 300 guests have been invited by the Speaker of the Eastern Cape Legislature, Helen Sauls-August. They are saying that they are leaving nothing to chance when it comes to the beef with security, and they are saying that they're expecting everything to move slowly. They are saying that at least by 1 o'clock, the Premier would have been done and that everyone can go back to their places. Some come from faraway places, sticking with that issue of service delivery. Well, unemployment, poverty, you recall that the recent floods, which the Eastern Cape government describes as the most devastating in the history of the floods that have hit this province. So he has a mammoth task ahead of him to convince the people of the Eastern Cape that he does have the ball under control and that he will take us to new heights. But let's bring in the Speaker of the Eastern Cape Legislature, Umama Helen Sauls-August. Ma'am, thanks a lot for your patience. Coming to today, that issue of service delivery, you as Parliament, you oversee these committees which speak to these things, but what are you expecting from the Premier with regards to that today?
Well, I think not only the legislature, but I think the broader stakeholders and the community of the Eastern Cape is expecting the Premier to touch on the salient issues that is affecting communities. The issues of water, whether from a drought perspective or from climate change, where we have the damages that we have seen in the last couple of weeks. We've also seen soil erosion, crime, unemployment and poverty, obviously, and creating sustainable jobs within the Eastern Cape, because that we really need to deal with. So these are the issues that all of us is expecting. Obviously, we know it's only 1 year before the term of this, the legislature comes to pass. So we need to ensure as the legislature, from an oversight perspective, that what the government has set out for their 5-year plans in terms of the annual assessments, that a far bigger scrutiny is placed on, vigilant and vigorous scrutiny is placed in the oversight, making sure that those issues obviously is dealt with. We do understand from a fiscal point that the fiscus has drastically shrunk, so we need to do more with far less. And I think that is the reality that is facing the country, and it is facing an impoverished province like the Eastern Cape. But I think innovation is going to be required by government, how we do things, and then to identify the priorities out of priorities.
Would you say that during the 6th term, you have kept your promise to the people of the Eastern Cape?
Well, when you ask that, surely you are directing that to the executive. As the legislature, our commitment was a vigorous oversight. Making sure that we call the executive to account, making sure they attend portfolio committee meetings, and making sure that we are out there oversighting those projects. And in that respect, I can attest to that. Even the Auditor General's report has praised how the Eastern Cape Legislature has done its oversight. Yes, we can actually do more, but also it is the fiscus that determines how oversight can be done within the fiscal framework, unfortunately.
Coming to today, ma'am, you've invited over 300 guests. In terms of finances, how much did you spend for today?
Well, we'll be less than $1 million as usual. We don't have 300 guests. We only have 170 guests.
Yes.
We have 170 guests. Remember that the legislature is made up of the full legislature and the NCOP in that respect. And then when you look at the ministers that we have there, and then 170 makes up plus the staff makes up the full complement of the 350. We have been very, very conservative with the numbers to ensure that we can seat the people, but also that we stay within budget, that we do not exceed the budget. Everything has been scaled down. Even if you see some shimmering here and there, but it's very, very scaled down. And that is one of the commitments that we gave to the community of the Eastern Cape, that we will do away with, all of the previous things that was there, and that we scale it down, obviously every year, and making sure that we keep within those budgets.
I understand that you've even invited international guests. Who are those people?
Well, usually what we invite, the only people that we invite are the consul and the consul generals. Those are the people that is being invited. The Premier obviously also has got his special guests who he invites to this, but that is usually from the legislature, because those are our stakeholders, those from the Commonwealth countries in Africa and sub-Saharan Africa. We do invite those consulates, and some of them have acknowledged that they will attend today.
Lastly, you have this program of taking Parliament to the people, taking legislature to the people. How has the response been? Because everything, we can speak about everything. We might have dressed flashy and all of that, but what the key issue is service delivery. So when you take those things to the people, what's the response like?
Well, obviously in Joe Gabi this year, I think it has been one of our most memorable taking legislature to the people. And that was brought about by the collaboration with the Joe Gabi district municipality, with Sengu local municipality, working in partnership with the departments. Obviously, again, on a scale down, taking legislature and engaging the communities, because that is important, not just that we have to get feedback, but we also have to, in terms of our legislative mandate or public participation, create those platforms where the members can engage with the legislature as well as with the executive. A lot of issues have raised, the same issues that we have raised. What we expect the Premier to speak about has emerged within those recommendations that communities have basically spoken for. So we do believe that those recommendations, Premier, obviously, and his executive have taken it into consideration. We know that the governing party has gone to two Lokotlas to deal with those issues, and those issues surely should be guiding the Premier.
Thanks a lot for your time, ma'am.
Thank you
Once
so
again
much.
for your patience too. Well, Naledi, that was Helen Sauls-August, the Speaker of the Eastern Cape Legislature. Issues of agriculture, the automotive sector are some of the areas where where the Premier will be speaking into, because they are seen as the backbone of the economy of this province. Even those floods which have hit this province, he is expected to give an update when it comes to the money, when it comes to the funds that they had requested from national government to deal with that disaster. We shall bring you more as the day unfolds.